So the year is 2018 and I'm doing what I usually do on the internet, trying to look up different anecdotes and stories about John Mayer that I think will help me make more and better guitar friends at parties. And I happened to come across this one interview and they're asking John all of the standard questions that they ask him, right? What was it like your first time playing guitar? I think at one point they like asked him something about a Silver Sky and I'm like, that's cool, that's dope. But they asked him something interesting. They go, who was the last guitar player that really blew you away? And me being the John Mayer fan that I am, I'm like, okay, what's this man about to say? I mean, my personal thought process was that he was gonna do what most artists do. He's gonna talk about like his classics, his favorites. You know, the Journeymans, the Bold as Love, Axis, like those kind of albums. But he actually surprised me. He does something different. This man says, actually, I had to look up her name. She's an Instagram guitarist. Her name is Melanie Faye. He said the thing that he liked about her was that she played with a level of feel that someone her age just isn't supposed to have. So I was really intrigued at that moment. So what I did was I closed my laptop and I kind of went on with my life and did other things because I was like, I don't need some new guitar player in my life right now. But I guess it's cool that John likes her. So about a year passes and my sister actually ends up telling me that she's surprising me with tickets to see one of my favorite musical artists of all time. Her name is Maggie Rogers. And this will all make sense. To say I was ecstatic about seeing her is probably the understatement of the century. I mean, I love Maggie Rogers. Her producing, her singing, her actual songwriting, it's all incredible. I even showed up to the concert like 3 hours before, just so maybe, possibly I could get a glimpse of meeting one of my favorite musicians and just kind of thanking her for making the music that she does. And while I'm waiting in that 3-hour line, all I'm thinking is, I hope this opener doesn't stink so I don't have to waste all my energy hating the opener before I actually get to see my favorite artist. And I think we've all been there before. But that's when it happens. You see the lights go dim, everything turns black, the crowd goes silent, and this girl walks on stage. And I can clearly notice that is not Maggie Rogers. This is someone else. She just has a bass player and a drummer with her, and she starts playing these neo-soul licks. And I'm talking like Beyonce, Destiny's Child, along with her own original stuff, and I am just floored. And I immediately noticed, oh my gosh, that's the girl that John Mayer was talking about in that video that I watched last year. Her playing style and her skill level were just so far ahead, like I had heard him talk about before, that I just sat there with my jaw kind of dropped. Okay. I was so floored with the music that I had just seen from her that I stayed afterwards for like an hour until she came out and I could just be like, hey, I think your playing's pretty great. So I'm on my way home from the concert in what I would consider to be a very overpriced Uber. And I get to just sort of take in for a minute everything that I just saw. And I think to myself, it was more than just her playing ability, right? There was something about her stage presence and the way that she actually interacted with the crowd that was so special and so different from a lot of the other artists that I had seen live before. I mean, at one point, I'm not even joking, she was talking about like alphabet soup and I was just like, this is kind of cool. So as does after any sort of show that you watch, time begins to pass. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become millenniums. And as that time passes, I just gradually start to become an actual fan of Melanie Faye. Not just the stuff that I had seen on stage, but actually listening to her EPs, looking at her Instagram videos, trying to actually learn some of the neo-soul stuff that had captivated me so much. And most of the stuff that I saw online just completely stuck out to me because she's such a great player. One thing in particular that really got me was this performance, this mashup that she did of Jimi Hendrix and Mariah Carey. It was like a tribute on the electric guitar. It was one of the smoothest, most soulful renditions of Little Wing I'd ever heard in my entire life. So I thought to myself, oh my gosh. And the guitar that she was playing on that, it was this light green Dangelico semi-hollow. And I was like, bro, you got something right there. So when I myself actually noticed that I was in the market for a semi-hollow, and that means a lot to me because I haven't had a semi-hollow guitar since my first ever real electric guitar that I bought almost 10 years ago. So I was like, what am I gonna get? And then just so happens that somebody I know, somebody that I happened to meet very recently, reached out and was like, hey Mike, do you know who Melanie Faye is? I said, of course I know who Melanie Faye is. We met at a concert that one time and we're basically best friends forever. Like, why? And he goes, because she's making a signature, like the one from the Hendrix video, but more decked out. And I'm like, show me. You sure you're ready? So here it is. And it's kind of just one of those full circle moments, having been a fan of her music and just her artistry for so long. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this guitar. And you might be like, Mike, what makes this guitar so extraordinary? Well, they only actually decided to make 50 of these, and to be one of the people that has one, that's really cool for me. And that it's just like the one she played in that Hendrix video. Got the Kent Armstrong 57s like would be in a normal Dangelico. Our signature right up there, the headstock. That's really cool. But also, unlike most semi-hollows that I've ever seen, it's coil split. Everything about this guitar just kind of screams unique. The fact that they only plated one of the humbuckers, the fact that, like I said before, it has the coil split, the actual color and design of the thing. And it was cool that I could experiment with it and not just be like, okay, I'm gonna be like exactly try and copy what Melanie Faye is gonna do with like some of her neo soul stuff, but like surprise my friends with like the different tones I can use in like different genres of music that we're trying to make, especially with my band.
You show her this how you love her like no one's ever. You need to allow to take her space with yours. You show her this how you love her like no one's ever. You need to allow to take her space with yours.
But more on that later. So here's kind of the other weird thing that I feel like definitely has to be mentioned. There's kind of this weird thing that happens when you think about signature guitars. Like if someone's a fan of Jimi Hendrix and they buy an S-style guitar, you're like, you don't make any assumptions about their playing style or anything. But when someone buys specifically a Jimi Hendrix signature guitar, that's when you get interesting. And whenever you pick up that guitar, I feel like psychologically you're almost associating yourself with that player. And I feel like for myself, there are only a handful of players who I really respect enough to like actually play their signature guitar on a regular basis. Not that it can't be used for other styles, but you have to kind of come from both spectrums, not just I like them, but I like their signature. So I want to know in the comments, which guitar players are on your list? Like which ones are your guys where you're like, I would be down to play their signature on a regular basis? Because that really does show, like I was saying before, the level of respect you have for whosoever guitar you're holding. Whosoever? Is that the right word?
Dude, I don't know. Ask Phil.
I wonder if anyone's gonna make a Nick Jonas signature. Anyway, all this to say, thank you to Melanie for making a great guitar. This is one of the most special guitars I've found, and like, it's one of the ones I've been most proud to own. If you wanna know anything else about this guitar, make sure to check out this link in the description. Dangelico, you guys did a great job. Mike, out. Don't cry,